What's up, YouTube? Today I got a video that if you own a 3D printer or if you've had a 3D printer for any amount of time and you still have it and still want to use it, you're going to want to watch this video to the end, okay? So what we have is a belt tensioner. It's probably the 100% the most functional print I've ever used because I use this all the time. So I will 3D print things, it's functional and yeah, you use them, but this thing gets a lot of use and it's very accurate. This is made by PF Makes. This one right here is a completely assembled one. So you can buy this already done, completed, assembled, or you can buy it just like this. This is what you would get. It's going to have in here a little pin, like a little wire basically. You got a drill bit in here, some lubrication, a few screws, a washer. You got a spring in here with a Q-tip, and the other side of the Q-tip has been cut at an angle for a reason, and we'll get to that. So if you have a 3D printer, for this situation here, you're going to have to 3D print your parts. You're going to need to print these parts right here. And I will link these in the description. If you have a 3D printer and it's not tuned well, don't attempt this at all. Just spend a few extra bucks and go ahead and get the completely assembled one. Because that's where people have issues at. If your printer is not tuned well, it's very hard to print this and make it work accurately if it's not tuned right. So just go with the complete kit if you have questions about your quality. We're going to go ahead and assemble this thing here. I'm going to show you how to put it together, any tricks and stuff along the way, and give you guys some success on this because there have been people that's had issues with assembly. So let's get into it. Now we're going to open up the file here to print. I'm going to walk you through it. So basically what we're going to need is go to the STL folder and select all these, and you have to select a needle. Typically, if your print settings are all good, you can go with the 2. If you have a little slop, you can adjust that by changing the needle right here. So for the first print, what we're going to do is print these parts right here. You can print all these in one solid color. So you will slice this and print them. So for this part here, we want to add a color change in here. It's going to basically just pause at a certain layer and we're going to change it to a different color. So we could see through these numbers here. From that point down, it'll be black and the rest of it up will be green. So we can actually see the numbers through there better and it'll make it look kind of cool. So let's add that color change. So we'll slice it. Once you get slicing finished here, move this bar down to the bottom, keep going until we get right there. Right where you can see the first layer of numbers start to appear, which here is layer 18. So at that layer, we're going to add, you can click it or you can right click and hit add color change. You can pick the color if you want that you want it to be. And once you do that, we got to reslice it. What that's going to do is just add a pause. Once it prints that layer, it'll pause and then you can change the color there. So you can double check things by scrolling through and looking. You can see it looks good there, but you can roll this all the way down to the first layer. It looks good. Up, 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 up. Last layer is right there before it starts printing the numbers. So that is what we want to see. So that's correct. So we can export that and print it. First, you want to gather all your parts here. You should have your kit, which got everything in it. I'll go ahead and open it up. Should have our base, our slide, our needle, calibration. We got a spring stop and a spring spacer here. Should have all these parts ready. Once you have everything here, the first thing you need to do is take your base and take your slide, and you're going to put it in here and test fit it. You're going to run it back and forth a few times. And as you can see, this one I've already messed with a little bit. You can see that it's what you're aiming for here is to get any blobs or any little things sticking out from your print, get it off so it'll slide. What you want to happen is this. You should be able to lift up on this and it just drop. Now it's best to print this back part on a smooth bed, but you can print it on a textured. As for example, this one's printed on a textured. But make sure that drops. For example, this is one here. If you put it in, you can see it's not This print failed on me, so anyways, if you got that, that's a problem. Now on your needle, I already took mine off, but I usually print the little dog ears, or what are the concentric things there that you put on to help it stick to the bed, because this will want to lift up off the bed on you since it's such a fine point. But just rip that part off. You do want to pay some special attention inside this tunnel. You can take your spring spacer and put it through here and just run it back and forth a little bit. Make sure nothing's on the walls or anything in there, any zits or blobs or anything like that. And just also check the outside area here, that make sure it's nice and smooth and it printed well. Check your teeth, make sure they're good on both the needle and your slide here. So on the base here, if you have any pressure advance issues on your printer, when you print these, you're going to have some issues in these corners here, where you may get a bulge or a slight bulge or something like that in one of these spots, which is going to make the slide be tight. And we don't want that. We want, again, like that. And I don't have one, but if you have a triangular file, this is perfect spot for them. If you did have a little bulge or anything like that, you can run it back and down through here to clean that out. The next thing you want to do is take your drill bit that came with your kit here. You're going to put it in this hole, and we're just going to spin it a little bit. Next thing I do, if you have that triangular file, this is a great place to use it again. Your teeth, just take and run it up, just a quick up and down along each one of these teeth. I'm just going to use a tightly folded piece of sandpaper, just like this. Get it in the groove and just go quickly up and down. Not a lot, just one time up, one time down will do the trick. If you have any elephant's foot or anything like that here, it's going to take care of that for you. And there we go. Now we can go ahead and install this calibration pivot. We're going to slide this in here and we're going to push it all the way through. And then I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here and then pull it back. Put a little bit too much there, actually. Then I want to press down like this on the surface so it goes right there, right to the end. Now the bottom of this has a little chamfer here, so you shouldn't have to do anything with that. You can kind of run across the top a little bit, just to do a slight deburr. If you got a deburring tool or something, just slightly run it across just like this. The next part we're going to do, we're going to prepare this slide here. We're going to take our M3 by 25. We're going to put in here. It just goes right into the plastic. Doesn't have any, heat inserts or anything like that. You start screwing this in, and you can keep turning until you get to where, about close to where it's flush here, or when you just start to see it come out the other side here, and then you can stop. So this is where we're going to take our lubrication here. We're going to open it up. We're going to take our Q-tip and put a little bit of grease on here. Now you want to be careful when doing this. We don't want to get grease on this top part, and we don't want it here. That's going to end up causing stiction. It's going to have a problem with the way it slides, so we don't want to do that. We want to get it just down inside of here. You don't want to put too much. You just want a light layer right down through there. Now that we have lubed this up on the inside here, we can go ahead and install our spring stop, and spacer. So what we're going to do, just drop that in. Our spring stop right here. And these holes here go towards the top. Slide that in, right in there. Just like that. So now we're going to slide this in. And we're going to put our two M3s right here, the self-taps, in these two holes. If you run this right to the end, you should be able to see both of those holes right there. You should be lined up to them if you did everything right here. Then we'll place our washer right here in that hole. And what we're going to want to do is take our Q-tip that's been very nicely cut by Preston here. And we're going to put a very small amount on here. And we're going to run this along all these little notches. You'll have to do it a couple times. You shouldn't be able to see a bunch of grease on this or anything like that. You're just going to put a little bit on each one of them little notches. Now we can go ahead and put this on. This little dot is going to face up. So what we're going to do is get a little bit here. We're going to put this right under the head of this fastener. That's just so when it spins, it's going to have a little bit of lubrication there. So then we'll put this through here. We're going to spin it around a little bit. So we want it to basically do this right here, where it'll just kind of float there. So we go ahead and tighten this down, but we want it to be on 0 when we start. So we'll tighten this all the way down. So what we're going to do now to get this adjusted, this is tight, it won't go, it's pressed all the way against it. We're going to put this back on here. Now I'm going to squeeze in on this a little bit as I'm loosening it. And then I'll let go and I'll hold this here and I'll loosen it until it's right there. Now, you'll do that and then loosen it back another maybe 1/8 of a turn or so. There we go. Make sure it's getting seated back to 0. Not sticking anywhere. And it feels really smooth. Really, you just want to run it a bunch, maybe, I don't know, 100 times or something, cycles. So one thing we want to check is to make sure that it is dead on 0. If it's not for some reason, what you can do is loosen these two out here and then just adjust it, push on this or either direction. Most likely it's back this way, and then tighten them back up, and that'll get you right on 0. Mine's on point, so. And also you want to make sure it's not doing a choppy movement like this. You want it to be nice and smooth. Another thing to check here is we're going to check the backlash. So just kind of push this in here, or just push up here with your thumb till you get it about to this section. And you should have about 1/2 tick worth of backlash in here. So you just want to hold it there, and then you can kind of move this back around and feel your backlash. And this one is good. Kind of hard to see as I'm moving this. Can't really show you, but just move that back and forth, and you'll feel your backlash in there. You just want to make sure it's not too wobbly. So for the calibration, you're going to use this right here. We're going to put this guy on here right just like that. I usually make sure it's even. It's not pressed down here or anything like that funny. Make sure it's on there even. Hit it a few times. And if you guys haven't figured this part out yet, I don't know what to tell you, but we want to adjust this to 1.9. So right now we're at about 2.2, as you can see. Maybe a little more than that actually. Yeah, a little more. So we'll adjust this here until we get to where we want to be. We'll just keep adjusting this until we get it right where we want it. That's pretty close. Alright, and then just a little bit more. Now we're hitting at 1.9 each time. You can also check this with just the wire. If you put the wire in here, it should be 1.8 with just the wire. And if it's getting inconsistencies with this and your calibration here, you can actually just take this and just give it a slight bend in that direction to get your 1.9 working properly. And we can cycle this several times here. After we've got it calibrated, just give it a bunch of cycles. And we'll check it again. Still good. And that's how it docks right there. So now let's go through how to actually use this. So what you're going to do is go ahead and take this off. We're going to put it in between a belt. Just push it out like this. And then let go. And that will give you your reading right there. Before we do this, in particular on this machine, what you want to do, this is a Voron 2.4. This has got Rama idlers. We're going to take these caps off so we can get to underneath it. Get us something to adjust it with. And you want to measure 150 millimeters from pulley to pulley. So from here to here, we want 150. So in centimeters, what is that, children? 15! You are right, 15. So 15 right there. I like to put this in the center as well. And then we'll measure this. Okay, that's right at 2. Maybe 2 point, actually no, we got it at 2.2. You can check the other side as well, but it's going to be the same, 2.2. So that's the thing with tensioning these Voron, these Core XYs, especially this particular machine. So what I would do, let's say that was lower than what we needed it to be. I'd pull it forward, and if you squeeze here, you'll see a little space on one side or the other. If you don't, like here I see no space at all. If you see a little space there, that means it's belt racked. It's tilted a little bit. So where you see the space here and feel it, that side you would tighten this up a little bit, this side. So then that would make it back to where it needs to be. Also, you can tell about belt racking or just racking in general. If when you push this, your tool head moves. Let's say, for example, and this can also happen when you have a little bit of tension or something grabbing your belt, like it's catching on the back there somewhere. So if I was to take my finger and put a little bit of pressure here and then grab this just by the frame and push it back, you see what's happening? It's moving left or right as it's moving back. We really want this to happen. We shouldn't see movement like that. So it should just go, as you move it front and back, you shouldn't see it move. If you go to PF's Github here, you'll see he's got a nice little manual in here that shows you some details about the adjustments and things like that, how things operate and how to operate this belt tensioner. Also in here, you're going to see this, which is nice. He made a little graph here for different types of belt readings and what you should be getting. It's like your Voron A and B. You should be getting the minimum 1.8, the max 2.2. So that's the ones we just did. And now like your Z drives, they're a little bit bigger belts. They're 9 millimeters on the Voron 2.4. We got this at 2.5 minimum, 2.8 on the max. So this is very handy to go off of as well. So there you have it, guys. That's how we put together this belt tensioner properly and done right. Okay. Thank you, Preston. It was great meeting you out there in Oregon when I was there. I'm sure I'll see you again. Just to let you know, you are officially known as the belt tension guy now. So if you don't have one of these, pick one up at west3d.com. Go check them out. They've got everything you need for 3D, most things you need for 3D printing. www.west3d.com. Until next time, you all have a fabulous week.